What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have an absolutely insane story of a kid who attacks his dad with a BB gun because his dad doesn't let him watch any more Skibidi Toilet videos. Yeah, no, this is actually what happened, which honestly makes me lose faith in humanity a little bit, but this story is actually really funny too, so I know you guys will enjoy it. So leave a like on the video right now, and if you leave a like on the video, I will actually give you, I know you're not going to believe this because it's too good of an offer, but if you leave a like on the video right now, I will actually give you nothing. Yes, I'm not even joking. Leave a like for nothing. Subscribe to the channel if you're new with post notifications so you never miss a story. With that being said, let's just jump right into it. Anyways, right, so we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Grant. So there's a kid in Grant's class who we're going to call Ben. By the way, I use Ben as like the secondary character all the time as a name. This is not the same guy in every single story. Don't actually think that. And so anyways, right, the subscriber submitted this story. We're going to call Grant. And there's this kid, Ben, right? And we're calling this kid Ben. And Ben was one of these kids, and I know you've probably noticed this a lot, and especially if you've been following my channel. I didn't realize how severe this was, but there's been a crazy outbreak of kids who've contracted what I'm going to call the Skibidi Toilet disease. Basically, these kids find like the Skibidi Toilet, whatever, which honestly, man, if you like that stuff, I honestly don't care. Like, you can like what you want. But if you're watching it for 25 hours out of the 24 hours of the day, then you might have a problem. Anyways, right, so there's been a whole range of kids who've basically just gone insane by watching this video 10,000 times every 5 seconds, right? And so anyways, right, Ben was a bit of a special case. So anyways, Grant and Ben were really close friends, and they have been close friends for a very long time, which makes this story a little awkward or a little bit uncomfortable, but basically Grant knew that he had to submit the story because it was really interesting and definitely fit the tone of the channel for now. So anyways, yeah, Grant and Ben used to be, or I guess still kind of are. You'll see it's a little complicated towards the end of the story. But they were very close friends for a very long time. So anyways, when they come back into the school year, they didn't really see each other over the summer because Grant was like visiting his grandparents that lived far away. And his parents just didn't really stick in their hometown for the summer, and Ben was in his hometown for basically the entire summer. So they didn't really see each other over the summer. So during that time, Ben's basically spent 12 hours a day inside watching Skibidi Toilet or whatever. It's not good. It's not good, man. You gotta have a life is my solution to this. Anyways, though, when he comes back, things seem kind of normal at first. Like, Grant and Ben immediately are like, hey, man, like, how's your summer? What did you do? Blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Grant did notice that when he asked Ben, what did you do over the summer? Ben was noticeably absent from really saying much at all. He was like, oh, yeah, I was hanging out, whatever, instead of actually saying things that he did. But, you know, that wasn't that suspicious or weird at the time. Grant just kind of like remembered that when looking back, looking back on it, he realized that he's like, oh, I see. When he said he was like hanging out, he meant hanging out inside in his room watching Skibidi Toilet videos every single day. That was his definition of hanging out. Anyways, though, so yeah, eventually, like about a week into school, so this story actually happened about over a month ago at this point. About a week into school, they decide that the next like weekend they're going to have a sleepover playdate type thing where Grant is going to go over to Ben's house. Just because it's been such a long time since they've hang out, and it's like, it's like, hey man, it's been months. Let's just start the school year off on a blast. And it definitely started off on a blast, as you can tell by the as you can tell by the title of this video. But maybe my definition of blast isn't as positive. Right? Maybe it's a blast into the new reality of your friend Ben has actually gone insane because he contracted the Skibidi Toilet disease. That is the blast that we're talking about here. Anyway, so let's jump ahead to the next week, that Friday night. So, or not that Friday night, I should say after school, instead of getting picked up by, or instead of being picked up by Grant's parents, Grant just went with Ben and they were picked up by Ben's parents. And Ben's parents were like, oh, like, Grant, it's been so long since we've seen you. I hope you had a really good summer. Like, we're so excited to have you over tonight. And things honestly were feeling good. Things felt like they were going back to normal and nothing was weird yet. So anyways, they get to the house. And so Grant had brought in his, along with his school backpack, he brought a little overnight bag in his locker, whatever, and they were walking into the house, and that's when, so it was it was Ben's mother that picked them all up, and Grant's father was Ben's father, sorry, I always mix these things up, and just deal with it. Anyway, so, Ben's father was in the kitchen, I think he was, sitting on the counter or whatever, maybe preparing the food that they were going to have that night. Anyways, they come in and, Ben's dad's like, oh, Grant, so great to see you, really excited that you're here. And then he kind of turns to Ben And he's like, hey, Ben, remember the time limit thing we're talking about? And Ben's like, yeah, I know. And that was kind of weird to Grant because Ben's parents had never really set like screen time limitations because Ben had always been a fairly outdoorsy kid. Like Ben had always been the kid who would he'd play video games or whatever. Like sure, I don't know, they play Fortnite together. I don't know what they're doing, right? And they play some video games together. He had a phone, right? He was on the internet, like he would spend time like on his devices. However, he wasn't the kid who was literally on his devices 12 hours a day, man. He wasn't that kid who actually had a problem to the point at which his parents had to like genuinely come in and like fix things. And by the way, just because your parents set screen time limitations doesn't mean that you have a problem with screen time. Sometimes parents will just like, they want to make sure that a problem doesn't happen in the first place. Like I know I never really had an issue with screen time as a kid, but I had my limitations. Like I remember my Wi-Fi literally shut off for me after a certain amount of time, and honestly, I think that could be. I think that's kind of chalked up to pretty good parenting. But also, there's some situations where kids will have like screen time limitations because they have a problem, right? So it was a little bit weird because it just like never came up before, and Grant didn't think much of it, but obviously with future context, he knows exactly why and exactly what the limitation was. Because it actually wasn't an overall limitation on like devices in general. I mean, it kind of was, but there was a specific reason why. Anyways, so Ben and Grant, they go up to Ben's room. So they go up to the room, and nothing's new. It's the exact same room as the last time that Grant was over there. And Grant was like, all right, man, like, what do you want to do? And this is where things go south. This is where things go south really quickly. So basically, Ben lived near this like very big forest type area, whatever. Like he was still in a neighborhood, but like he was in like his house, like the front of his house was like facing towards the street and facing towards the neighbors on the other side. And he had neighbors to the left of him and the right of him. But behind his house was this really big like forest type area. And every single time that Grant would go over to Ben's house, they would always they'd hang out for a second in his room, but then they'd almost immediately go out into the forest. And I don't know, man, when I was a kid, like I would do stuff like we'd go out into the forest, we'd build like little forts or whatever. Sometimes we play imaginary lightsaber fights. Sometimes we play like imaginary, like, the enemies are there. You got to like hide behind the trees or whatever, and you got to snipe them properly. Like I had a pretty active imagination as a child. And honestly, like low key, I should be getting that back. Like I should be saying like, screw adult stuff. I'm going to go into the woods and seem like a crazy person fighting imaginary like battle droids or whatever. Cause man, that's just fun. I honestly don't care. Anyways though, so yeah, Grant's kind of expecting them to do something like that. And Ben's like, dude, you need to see this right now. Like I've been waiting all summer to show you this. And he whips out his iPad. So Grant's like, oh, is there like a YouTube video or something? And he watches as Ben goes to a playlist that he made. And the playlist has like 50 videos in it. 50 videos. He's like, dude, we have to watch the whole thing. Grant's like, what? So yeah, basically what's happening is Ben is showing Grant basically the Skibidi Toilet compilation, all like 50,000 freaking episodes. So look, here's the thing. I know that there's some people in my comment section that do genuinely like the series and maybe would show their friends. And look, that's fine. I actually don't care if you like it, man. Like I like stuff as a kid. I like stuff as an adult. Like stuff that I like I know that me and my friend, like we always like watching Star Wars, and like his suite, and I know his other suite mates I'm friends with, they're like, bro, Star Wars again, boys. And we're like, yeah, man. It's like they don't have to like it. It's totally fine. But I'm also not forcing them down, strapping them to a chair and like wiring their eyes open, making them watch like a 60,000 hour lore compilation of Star Wars, even though I would personally enjoy that very much. Anyways, right, so yeah, for the next hour, Grant is just bored out of his mind as Ben is sitting there watching the Skibidi Toilet episodes and mumbling to himself, Skibidi bop bop bop, yes, yes, Skibidi bop bop beep beep, Skibidi bop. And like Ben isn't even like paying attention to Grant, man. Like Ben is not even noticing that Grant is not even watching. Like Grant is finding more entertainment literally staring at the wall than watching the Skibidi Toilet episodes. Which once again, guys, you can like what you want, but I think it's pretty clear that Grant is not deeply interested in the Skibidi Toilet lore, which I'm not going to say I can totally blame him for that. I'm not going to say that, wow, Grant, you're such a terrible person for not being deeply invested in the Skibidi Toilet lore videos. Like I'm not going to come for his neck for that. You know what I mean? Anyways, so about 2 hours later, they're called down for dinner. And they go down there, kind of like Grant is like exhausted. He came in with all this energy, excited to see his friend, like, they're going to go out and play in the woods or whatever. And they're just watching Skibidi Toilet videos on his iPad. Anyway, so they sit down and, Ben's dad was like, oh, so what have you boys been doing? And Ben's like, I was showing him all episodes 1 to 28 of Skibidi Toilet. And Ben's dad kind of looks at Grant and is like, Grant, so have you been enjoying that? And Grant's like, yeah, it's interesting. I definitely have never seen anything like it before. So by Grant's obvious lack of enthusiasm in his response, I think Ben's dad kind of picked up of, oh, yes, Grant is obviously not down for this. So Ben's dad is like, hey, Ben, like, you got to remember, remember the limitation. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes only of Skibidi Toilet every day, and you guys have been up there for 2 hours, so after a half an hour, I'm going to come and take the iPad. And Ben is like, wait, but Dad, half an hour isn't long enough to get through all 50 episodes. Grant's like, praise God, oh my God, this is the greatest moment of my life. Like, Skibidi Toilet is coming to an end. Yes, we win these. Anyways, right, so yeah, Grant is pretty happy about it, but Ben is just like trying to convince his dad. He's like, no, Dad, we need to watch all 50 episodes. How else is he not going to he's not going to understand the lore properly. Dad, come on. Like, oh my God. And his dad's like, nope, we have very strict rules here, Ben. Like, you know how it is. Maybe after 30 minutes when I take your iPad, you guys can go out in the woods and do what you guys used to do. And in Grant's mind, he's like, okay, that's awesome. Like, probably what's going to happen is the dad's going to come up, take the iPad, Ben's going to be mad for a minute, and then we're going to go out and do exactly what we used to do, which is exactly what I came here to do in the first place. So anyways, they go upstairs, and Ben's like, dude, I'm so sorry about my dad. He just doesn't understand it. Like, I can definitely try and, like, sneak in, like, a little bit more, like, time to watch the Skibidi Toilet episodes, but I don't think we're going to make it to 50. I don't think we're going to watch all the parts, man. And Grant's like, oh, no, I'll just watch in my own free time or something. Like, don't worry about me, bro. Don't worry about me. It's not your concern. I will watch it in my own free time, maybe. Anyways, they go back up, and Grant continuously stares at the wall for another 30 minutes because he does not care. And eventually, the dad knocks on the door. And Ben's like, Dad, 10 minutes. And Dad's like, no, like, I actually am up here 5 minutes later than I was going to be. I gave you guys an extra 5 minutes. He's like, it's time for me to take the iPad. And Ben's like, dude, no. Like, we're at episode 44. We're so close. Dad, you don't understand. And he's like, nope, I'm sorry. You have a very strict Skibidi Toilet limit every single day. Which is honestly just so funny that the parents aren't even having like an internet limit. They're not even calling it like an iPad limit. They're literally calling it a Skibidi Toilet limit. Like, that's how bad it was over the summer. That they just see their son watching this stupid... I'm not going to call it stupid toilet. Too many of you guys like it. They were just noticing that he's watching this specific video again and again and again and again. And it's just like, they were like, okay, we need to limit this specifically. That's like my parents coming in and giving me a Star Wars limit when I was a kid, which, like, low-key, maybe I did need one. Just kidding, I had a great childhood. I love Star Wars. Anyways, though, yeah, so sure enough, the dad comes over and takes the iPad, and Ben's like, I'm gonna need that back right now. And Ben's dad's like, no. He's like, Dad, don't get on my angry side. Ben's dad's like, no, I'm taking this away. And if you keep talking back like me, if you keep talking back to me like that, you're only going to have 30 minutes of Skibidi Toilet time tomorrow. And Ben's like, you wouldn't dare. And he's like, I would dare. You officially have 30 minutes of Skibidi Toilet time tomorrow. And Ben's like, you what? And Ben is just like molding. His hair is falling out. He's so mad right now. And Grant is like, who is this kid? Because Grant used to be actually pretty good friends with this kid. And Grant is genuinely just like, who is this kid, bro? What? Real quick, if you made this far into the video, I'd like you to comment toilet down below if you're on YouTube. If you're listening to this on Spotify, just make sure you rated the podcast 5 stars. And yeah, let's get right back to it. Anyways, though, so yeah, they're just kind of sitting in the room. And Ben is literally just sitting on the floor. His fists are like crumpled up into like angry balls. Like, you know, you ball up your fist, whatever, when you're angry, like the angry Arthur meme, whatever. Yeah, so he is obviously very mad. And he's like, I'm getting that back no matter what happens. Anyway, so this is where the title of the video plays into the story. So yeah, basically, this is so insane. Ben also is like a big fan of like Nerf guns and BB guns and all those type of kind of like toy guns or whatever. There's a pretty big difference though between Nerf guns and BB guns. Like Nerf guns are fun, and I actually like low-key, like I've been like me and my friends have been thinking about this, like because a lot of them like live in a bunch of like dorms, bunch of suites, whatever. If we had like a suite wide like Nerf gun fight, that would honestly be so fun. Anyways, though, like BB guns, like those actually hurt. Like, yeah, you're not gonna die most likely from a BB gun shot, but that stuff actually stings. Like, it actually leaves marks on you, bro. Like, that's like taking it honestly to the next level. So, anyways, like, Grant's parents didn't let him have access to BB guns because they didn't like that. They thought Nerf guns were fine, but Ben's parents were fine with it. So Ben literally goes in and grabs one of his BB guns, and he's like, "Don't worry, Grant. We're watching all 50 episodes of Skibidi Toilet if it's the last thing I do." And Grant's like, "Dude, like, it's not that deep. Like, honestly, please don't do that. Like, like, this is going a little bit too far." Anyways, though, so yeah, Grant watches as Ben goes into his closet, grabs like a BB gun, and goes downstairs. Absolutely insane, by the way. I just want to have a disclaimer. Please do not replicate anything in my stories in general, but specifically this story. Like, you can actually seriously hurt someone with a BB gun, especially if you're not in the proper safety equipment, etc. You already know what I mean. And like, this is insane. I just want to have that disclaimer out there so you guys know that this is actually genuinely insane. You should not be doing this. And this is not an endorsement of this. It's just an insane story that I had to tell you guys. Yeah, so Grant is here is like Ben going downstairs. He's like, "Give me the iPad. I need to watch Skibidi Toilet." And Ben's dad's like, "What are you doing with that BB gun? Like, we gave that to you for you to play with your friends when you're in full, like when they're in full costume. You better not use that on me, mister, or you'll be grounded for a week." And, you know, Ben's like, "Give me Skibidi Toilet now. I'll count to 3. And obviously Ben's dad's like, "You're already like, you're going to be grounded tomorrow, but if you do anything now, you're going to be grounded for a month." So this point keeps escalating, and Ben's like, 1, 2, 3. And then you hear pop, 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 pop. And he like, you know, shoots all the little BB guns or whatever. And you hear Ben's dad be like, like that stings. And Ben's dad, like you can hear, stomps over, rips the BB gun out. And you can hear Ben be like, "Just give me the iPad. Just give me the iPad. Please, 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 please." Yeah, so about 10 minutes later of like, you can hear muffled like screaming and yelling and whatever, hear a knock on the door. So Grant like opens the door, and it's Ben's mom. And Ben's mom's like, "Hey, Grant, like, this is so uncomfortable, and I'm so sorry, but it's okay. You can stay here for the night, but is there any way you can call your mom to come pick you up? Ben is he's in a lot of trouble right now, and, you know, you guys have such a good time together, but he can't be seeing anyone right now. I'm so sorry for this being put on you. It's so last second. And if you can, it's totally fine if your mom's away or busy or just can't pick you up. You can stay here. That's so fine. It just might be easier and maybe more comfortable for you too." So Grant's like, "Yep, no problems. Give me a phone." So anyways, Ben's mom hands Grant the house phone, calls up the mom. Grant's mom's like, "Hello?" And he's like, "Hey, can you come pick me up?" And she's like, "Are you okay?" And Grant's like, "Yes, I'm fine. I didn't do anything wrong. Ben's just in a lot of trouble. I'll tell you about it in the car ride." So anyways, about like 30 minutes later, because they don't live that far away. Honestly, Grant could have walked, but whatever. Grant's mom pulls up, and Grant kind of leaves the house with his stuff, gets in the car, and Grant's mom's like, "What happened?" And Grant's like, "You know what? Like, maybe drive a little bit farther because I got a story for you, and here it goes."